All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something I think every single one of us knows way too well: overthinking. You know that feeling, that mental hamster wheel that just keeps spinning? Well, how do we get off? Let's dive in. I mean, have you ever been there? You're just stuck. Maybe you're replaying a conversation over and over in your head, or you're second guessing a big decision, or you're just lost in a sea of what ifs until you're completely drained. That is the exact loop we're going to unpack today.
Okay, and right off the bat, let's just get one thing really, really clear. This isn't a character flaw. You're not broken. Overthinking is actually your brain's protective instinct, just, kicking into overdrive. It's a helpful system that's just working a little too hard for its own good. So the big question is, why? Why does this even happen? Like, what is actually going on up there in our heads? Look, if we're going to break the loop, we've got to understand what starts it in the first place. So let's explore the 4 main triggers that get our brains totally stuck. Okay, so here they are, pretty much in a nutshell. First, we're hardwired for protection. Second, we absolutely crave closure. Third, we're always seeking control. And fourth, and this one is really fascinating, our brains sometimes have a hard time telling the difference between what's real and what's just a thought. Let's dig into each of these. All right, first up, the misguided protector. And this is just incredible when you think about it. Your brain's operating system, it's basically ancient. It evolved to be this amazing problem solver, right? Always scanning for threats. But here's the catch. In our world today, that same system literally can't tell the difference between a lion in the grass and a confusing text message. So it treats both with the exact same life or death urgency. It's just screaming, "Solve this now." And that flows perfectly into our second trigger, the open loop. See, your brain absolutely hates not knowing an outcome. It can't stand it. So what does it do? It just keeps repeating the question again and again, desperately searching for that perfect 100% risk-free answer, which, let's be honest, almost never exists. Which brings us to number 3, the great illusion of control. We all know that little voice in our head, right? The one that whispers, "Hey, if I just think about this enough, if I run through every single possible scenario, I can stop bad things from happening." But here's the crazy paradox. All that extra thinking doesn't actually give you more control. All it does is create more things to worry about. And finally, we've got the 4th trigger, and honestly, this one is a huge one. Our brains can literally get confused between thoughts and reality. Think about that. Just because you imagine a bad outcome, your emotional centers can react as if it's a real, genuine threat. And boom, that's what triggers that all too familiar, totally draining cycle of anxiety. Okay, so that's the why. That's why our brains get so stuck in these loops. We see the triggers now, but let's get to the really important part, right? How do we actually get out? Well, let's walk through a simple 4-step escape plan. All right, here's the game plan, and you'll be surprised how simple it is. The whole process really just starts with noticing. First, we're going to name the pattern. Then we'll ask a grounding question. After that, we stop feeding the cycle. And finally, we shift our goal. Let's break down exactly what that means step by step. Step 1. This is so powerful, and it's because it's so simple. The second you feel that spiral starting to spin up, I want you to just label it. Literally say to yourself out loud or in your head, "Okay, this is overthinking, this isn't problem solving." Just doing that simple act, it creates this critical bit of distance between you and the thought. Okay, so once you've named it, you hit it with one single, powerful, grounding question. And it's this: is there anything I can actually do about this right here, right now? Now, if the answer is yes, awesome. Go do that one thing. But if the answer is no, well, you've just given yourself permission to see these thoughts for what they really are, just noise. This brings us to a really crucial point. You have to understand that overthinking is a habit, kind of like a muscle, and it survives on repetition. Every single time you go back and recheck that worry, you're basically doing another rep. You're making that neural pathway stronger. So the only way to break the cycle is to starve it. You have to consciously decide not to engage. That is what makes it weaker over time. And that brings us to the final step, and it's all about a mindset shift. You have to let go of this impossible search for perfect reassurance. It's a trap. So instead of asking, "Am I 100% certain about this?" your new, much healthier goal is to ask a different question. Do I have enough information to just take the next small step forward?
See the difference? It's huge. So, okay, we've covered the why it happens and the how to stop it. But before we finish up, I want to reframe this whole thing with a little more self-compassion. Because honestly, this part really, really matters. And I absolutely love this idea. When you get right down to it, overthinking isn't a sign that you're weak. Far from it. It's usually a sign that you just care a lot. You want to do the right thing. You want to protect the people you care about. You want to make good choices. It's actually coming from a really good place. And that's the final and maybe most empowering takeaway. You can care deeply, you can care intensely, without having to mentally carry the crushing weight of every single possible outcome. The goal is to be conscientious, not completely consumed by it all. So I'll leave you with this one little challenge to think about. Using these tools we just talked about, what is one thought, just one, that you can decide not to recheck today? Just decide not to feed it. That's it. That's the perfect place to start. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.